Welcome. It's No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth even after Independence Day.
Right?
I'm your host, Rick Becker, co-host Lori Hintz.
It is good to be back and starting a new week.
I'm faking my energy. I'm just saying
wow.
that. Yeah,
Thanks for the full disclosure.
I'm totally faking it. I have no air conditioning, haven't had it for 2 weeks.
Brutal. That's brutal.
And, I'm about to go on a rampage, but
a little sapped.
All right, so we've got a great show. We've got a guest. Jared Hendrix is going to be talking about something we teased last week, which is an initiated measure for term limits. However, our first segment, I wanted to bring up a little bit of update regarding vaccines.
Well, we've been pretty good about giving COVID updates throughout the whole time. So
every so often. I mean, they're in the news constantly.
Truth.
You can't get away from it.
That's all true.
But at some point, enough comes forward that it's worth talking about. So I've got one graphic here. This is from Bloomberg. And what they are asking is whether the vaccine will work against Delta. Now, what they mean by Delta is the Delta variant of COVID-19.
Is that the fourth one? Is that
well,
Alpha?
it must be, although I'm only aware of Alpha. But it's hard to say because, we're aware of, others by name, by name of country. Mm-hmm. So, yes, so Delta is named Delta, and there are many more, which I'll talk about in a second.
Okay.
But Delta is currently the one that's catching the most attention. It's the one that's most predominant right now in the world, especially in Europe. And so Bloomberg has in this article, and it says, how well does AstraZeneca work against the Delta variant? They say, with the Delta variant quickly spreading, this is truly the question of the hour. Now, this story is from July 4th.
Oh, wow.
2 days ago.
Okay.
Keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
This mutation of the virus is highly contagious and fast becoming dominant in many countries. In the U.S., new research from the genome editing firm Helix suggests that already as many as 40% of new cases are Delta. The good news is vaccines appear to be quite effective against this variant. Again, keep that in mind.
Okay, just 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
So they said.
Yes. What they say is Delta, the biggest threat to unvaccinated people, Delta is the biggest threat to unvaccinated people, because it's more aggressive, it's more transmissible.
And because they want more people to get vaccinated.
Right. And then they go on to say for people who are vaccinated, the bigger concern is future variants of the virus that vaccines may not be as effective against. Okay? Keep that in mind.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, let's go to the next graphic.
Okay.
We're going to move from July 4th to July 6th. Israel sees a drop in Pfizer vaccine protection against infections. Now, we see a dramatic change in news from and they mentioned AstraZeneca. What I did not mention is that in that same article from Bloomberg, they talk about Pfizer even being better than AstraZeneca in effectiveness against Delta 2 days ago.
Unless you're in Israel.
Well, right. So Israel is seeing that they also have a significant increase in Delta variant. They have found that the effectiveness has dropped already to 64% from in the mid-90s.
That's quite a drop.
Yep. Now, they are claiming that it is maintaining effectiveness against serious illnesses and hospitalizations. Yeah, I'm not.
So you can still.
I'm not trying to spin here. I'm just trying to give facts. So as far as we know today, which clearly it changes day to day to day.
That's all true.
But in Israel, at least, they're seeing Delta, the most predominant form of COVID-19 right now, that the vaccines may not be very effective against it. We're seeing 64. Now, 64, sure. Is it better than 0? Yes,
sure.
If that's what you want to do, it is.
And if the hospitalizations are lower, that's a win as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. If that's the case, what we need, the thing that we've been saying from the get-go is we don't know. Right. There's no studies. No one has a clue. And everything they claim is fact, the reason that it is no longer fact a week or a month later is because they never knew from the beginning. And so that's that, all right?
Wow.
All right, now, I have another thing. Lambda, that's Delta.
Right. I was wondering, they're going to name all these.
Lambda is coming. Lambda has even greater increased transmissibility.
Of course it does.
Than Delta.
I'm certain it does.
So be frightened, be very frightened. Now,
I'm very afraid.
Lambda is predominant right now in Peru and Chile. And so it's kind of spreading through South America as opposed to Delta, which is through Europe. And they're all going all over.
Right, of course.
The scary thing is that in Peru, it is showing that it has as high as a 10% mortality.
What?
Yeah, which at least for instance, for
then
people...
Then again, it's Peru, because so
But for people our age, that's 100 times the mortality of COVID-19 standard.
Right.
So we'll see. I don't know. I mean,
and
so
Peru
is
is
that
not
concerning?
necessarily
Sure
going to lock down either, are they? I mean,
it's hard to say. It didn't. I mean, we don't know because it's still considered to be effective according to many news outlets and health sources. That these things they did, which we know scientifically did not work, they still are claiming they work. So certainly they're going to see more lockdowns. So that's Lambda, and Lambda is believed that is going to be even more resistant to the vaccines that y'all are taking than Gamma, or Delta. Delta.
Oh, he's going
Then
ahead
Delta.
to Gamma.
Gamma is coming up.
Okay.
Gamma is right now taking over in Brazil.
Okay.
So Delta in Europe, it turns out, as Israel's saying, vaccines aren't working, which they 2 days ago were saying they did.
Okay.
Peru is
we've
got
where
Lambda in Peru and Chile, which has possibly as high as a 10% mortality. That's coming up. Vaccines aren't going to be working against that. Brazil has Gamma, and we don't know if
Okay, try to keep up, people.
What does it? Am I telling you to get a vaccine or not get a vaccine? No, I don't know what the hell to do. But apparently nothing's working, and you should just go live life and be the happiest you can be.
I like it.
All right. The next bit of news: Biden. There was a big headline. Biden's goal missed. Now,
that was by July 4th. He wanted a certain amount.
By July 4th, he wanted 70% to have at least one jab.
What is Fauci at 90% now? Because he was moving from
who knows?
Yeah,
that's such baloney. But they reached 67% apparently, so it got really close. And but the thing is that it's fascinating to me when I look at this. Right now, for the U.S., fully vaccinated is at 47%, and a single dose is possibly as high as 67%. Now, compare and contrast that with North Dakota. Go ahead and pull that graphic up. North Dakota, depending on the source that we're looking at,
that's
is going
interesting.
to have...
Look at the shading there. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so exactly. So look at the shading. It seems different on the west than it does on the east. Yes. So overall, North Dakota has, depending on the source, 51 or 44% of people in North Dakota have had at least one jab.
Right.
And then 48% or possibly as low as 39% have had two. In South Dakota, it's a little bit better than that. Minnesota, go ahead and pull up Minnesota. We've got a map here, also somewhat interesting. The most urban, densest, and most liberal areas have a much higher rate.
So now, interesting.
Minnesota's rate is higher than North Dakota's, no surprise there. And this
you see that white thing right in the center there?
Yeah.
I know what county that is, because that is the county in which my parents live. In Minnesota, that is Todd County.
Todd County?
And they are very conservative in that county.
So that brings me to the final article that I wanted to point out. Vox had an article out. Tend to be very left-leaning, and they're bemoaning the fact that it seems that the vaccination has been politicized. And obviously it has, as we see even in North Dakota map, Minnesota map, certainly the U.S. map. They have indicated that 95% of Democrats that they polled either have the vaccine or intend to get the vaccine, as opposed to 50% of Republicans that have the vaccine or want to get the vaccine. Now, they can't figure out why. They blame Trump for a lot of it, but I just want to give you here in our final seconds of this segment the reasons that it may be a conservative versus progressive thing. Conservatives are not predisposed to government intervention like progressives are. They don't believe government is the answer. Secondly,
freedom.
Conservatives tend to be skeptical of government. They don't trust government, and with good reason. When you look at all the flip-flopping, all the fake propaganda and fake news, it's no wonder when you say, well, conservatives are being ridiculous for being skeptical or cynical, there is an abundance of reason for that. And also, I think conservatives are much less likely to fall for all of this moral posturing and virtue signaling.
Agreed.
So there's a solid reason why we are at a difference, politically speaking, on acceptance of the vaccine, and it isn't because of some
I love it
evil-
when you can see the facts, though. You can actually see
Yeah,
the
it's
shape.
crazy.
You can look at it and you can totally see the difference. Yep.
All
Very
right,
cool.
folks,
Very cool.
we are going to be back with Jared Hendrix talking about term limits. Stick with us.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Go for Launch 2018 Series winner. Without further ado, it is my honors. Regina. The winning team is the Flumen River Excellence.
Oh my God!
They won!
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
Welcome back. It's No Apologies, and we've got Jared Hendrix, who is the sponsoring committee chairman for an initiated measure on term limits. Welcome, Jared.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you've been here before.
I have.
It's amazing we're having you back.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Took a wrong turn, you know.
Yeah. All right. So give us the lowdown. Tell our viewers about this thing that they're likely to see on the ballot when?
2022, likely in June.
June.
Yeah, right now it's officially waiting approval from the Secretary of State. But what this is it's a constitutional ballot measure, like you said. And what it would do is it would apply 2 4-year term limits, 8 years total, to the North Dakota House, the North Dakota Senate, and the governor. North Dakota is one of only 14 states that doesn't have any gubernatorial term limits, so it's actually kind of an outlier on that.
Oh, I did not realize that.
It's a very powerful position. There's only about 15 states that have state legislative term limits. That's a little bit of a different issue, but we're modeling it on essentially George Washington, our first president. I mean, this is a guy who could have been king. He term limited himself to 8 years. And so we're modeling it on that because we believe that that is a good way to have representative government.
Nice. Yep. I know it's something that people have been talking about. Certainly some of my constituents, many of my constituents have been talking about it periodically, but with increasing level of interest, it seems, over these past few years.
Yeah, absolutely. The political winds have shifted in favor of term limits nationally. I mean, the polling data shows that quite clearly. Also, the support in North Dakota is quite clear. I mean, the support is overwhelming for this, and we'll have some information we'll be putting out about that soon. But yeah, I think there's a growing sense of frustration, probably more so directed at Washington than Bismarck, but there's some of both to go around. And people want systemic reforms. They want bold systemic reforms that will really start to realign the political power. And that's the way I say it, that this is going to take the power away from the political class and give it to the citizens.
Sure. The aspect of, we have it when it's going to be on the ballot June or November of 2022. And then presumably it would be effective starting 2023?
It would be effective in January 1st of that following year.
And so in other words, it does not apply to any of the time that the governor or the legislators have already been in office?
Correct. Yeah, it applies to what we call future terms. So in other words, like in my district, one of my 2 House members, he would be able to run again in 2024 because it's an even numbered district, so it's the presidential cycle. He would then be able to run again in 2028, and then he could technically, if he wanted to, switch to the Senate and do 8 years in the Senate. And even for the future service, because you could do service in the House and in the Senate in the same district, somebody could do 16 years total in the legislature, and then if they were elected governor, they could do a total of 24 years of service. So I think 24 years is a long time in politics and in government. So it's not as restrictive as some would say, but it does put in place structural limits. You know, this is a limit on the government ultimately. It's not a limit on the people. It gives the people more power.
Yeah. So not to get too deep in the weeds, but so for the odd number districts that are going to be up now, and they're going to be at a 4-year term, so their current term will end 2 years after the new change. So will those two years count towards the 8, or does the 8 count at their next election?
It would be the next election.
That would be, okay. Gotcha.
Super confusing. I kind of lost you there on the 8.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I do like, so one of the things that when I was interviewed, we were talking about the pros and cons of the measure. And one of the, I think, interesting discussion points on this measure is whether to have made it retroactive or only, I guess, moving forward, proactive.
Sure.
And because that would mean, for instance, if it was retroactive and passed in 2022, Governor Burgum would not be able to run again. The several legislators who have put in more than 8 years or more would also not be able to run again. And the discussion really is about the pros and cons of that. My preference was to go retroactive because it's sort of like, what's good for the goose, good for the gander. Would that term limit me out? Yes, it would. But if that's a good idea, then I think that's fine. But I think, Jared, when you and I were having this discussion some time back, there's also a pro to having it moving forward, in which it's a clean slate. This is not punishing anyone, specifically Burgum.
Yep.
No one's, it's just like everyone knows fresh going in. And so did you have further discussions, or was there any other pushback on one way better than another?
Not a whole lot, actually, but I mean, to your point, though, it's a fair point. If we're saying this is good policy, why not have a good policy right now, or as soon as possible? But there is a certain politics to it, and we are very careful about making sure this is not about any particular person or any set of candidates. And so to that point, if we had made it, quote unquote, about the governor, or if it was perceived that way, not only would you mobilize a certain faction of support against you, but then you really kind of detract from the issue, which is the principle of term limits.
Right.
We don't want to make this about this is not about any particular person.
It's about limiting government.
Yes. There's plenty of good legislators. I mean, folks like yourself that have been in there for a while, and others that have been in there for a lot longer. So this isn't about any particular person. This is a long-term structural change that will limit the power of the political class, the lobbyists, the bureaucrats, and realign that power back to the people.
Do you have any statistics or information from other states that have implemented this? Like you say, we're kind of late to the game for the governor, but we're ahead of the game apparently with other states with the legislators.
Yeah, there is a lot of data on bureaucracy, and you could look at certainly, Rick, you've talked a lot about comparing to South Dakota when it comes to the budget. And there are certain aspects about South Dakota's term limits that maybe aren't perfect. I mean, I don't want to get too far off into the weeds, but in general, I would say that there's a pretty good argument, and we see this in states without term limits, that you get these long-time relationships between legislators and lobbyists and bureaucrats. And those relationships, because ultimately influence in government comes from relationships, so it's not that all those relationships are bad, but when they are bad, they can be very bad, and I would say more often than not, it's not a good thing for the people or the constituents.
Excellent. All right, folks, we're going to be back. Another segment with Jared. We're going to press him for some of the pros and cons, the arguments maybe against this. So stick with us. We will be right back.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Prairie Patriot Firearms and Training is the region's most complete gun and training center. 5-lane indoor range, a gun shop, and a certified training facility. Firearms training courses are offered daily for new, intermediate, and advanced shooters. If you're not comfortable in a classroom setting, Prairie Patriot offers one-on-one private lessons, from basic self-defense training to concealed weapons testing, along with a full line of guns, ammunition, holsters, and concealment clothing. Prairie Patriot, 3930 Memorial Highway, prairiepatriot.com.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Welcome back to No Apologies, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. No, segment 3 is where I say, your after-hours oasis of sanity.
That's right.
I told you I need air conditioning to sleep well.
I feel really bad for you. That must be just awful.
Thank you.
I do. You have all of my empathy.
Thank you so much.
And pity.
We are here with Jared Hendrix, who's talking about term limits. And we are just going to get into the thick of it, the good part, where we're going to challenge you because there are some arguments against it. Okay?
You originally, if I recall, when we ever talked about term limits, said, well, that's what your vote does.
I've wavered. Originally,
I used to be against them too.
Yeah. Originally I was for them. And then I was more against them.
Right.
And I'm a little bit on the fence. I'm in favor of them for the governor, which is really what got me, because I am one of the signers, by the way, and I'll full transparency. On the sponsoring committee, I'm one of the committee members. And really what pulled me on board is the aspect that the governor is being term limited. I think that's proper. I'm a little bit on the fence for legislators. However, when you can cross chambers, be in say, the House of Representatives for 8 years and then move to the Senate for 8 years.
That's 16 years.
That mitigates my concerns. So this will be my first question for you, Jared. One of the big things, I think, is one of the best reasons to be against term limits is if you believe that there's not going to be the institutional knowledge gained, meaning legislators aren't there long enough to become adept at all the nuances that they need to know to be effective and to get good legislation through. And if they don't have it, that means they have to rely on bureaucrats and capital lawyers. So what do you say to that argument?
Yeah, well, there is institutional knowledge, but sometimes that becomes institutional inertia where they're resistant to change. And I'm sure you've seen this as a legislator when you get there, and sometimes and I've literally heard these words before of, well, that's not how we do things here. And when you suggest things that maybe are out of the box or maybe a different way of doing things, sometimes you reach roadblocks. So yes, some experience is good. Of course, having knowledge how to run a committee, how to do those things is important. Having a nuanced understanding of an issue that's had multiple legislative aspects over a period of decades. I mean, yes, there's a lot of value in that knowledge, but the question is always the trade-off. How much damage can come from that relationship? Again, we go back to the power and influence in politics largely comes from relationships. So how much harm can come from that situation where you have a career politician, a longtime legislator that has that institutional knowledge with an agency official and a lobbyist that may not be in the best interest of the taxpayers or their constituents. So it's really a trade-off, and I think in the net, there is much more to gain from changing and having new blood.
Yeah. And again, I agree. That's why I'm on. 8 years, if it was a flat 8 years, I don't think is enough. Sure. But because you can continue to gain knowledge, cross the chamber, and become a leader in the whatever chamber you're going to move to, I think that takes care of that somewhat.
And another minor point to that there's nothing that prohibits someone, if someone really wants to serve their community, which is great, we need people, and I think we've got great people here who can do that, but you don't have to be a senator for 40 years. You can be a county commissioner, you can be in your school board. There's those are really, I would say, where there's much greater need in a lot of those positions.
That's true. I mean, that's a great point. I've not heard someone say that before.
Excellent point. I hadn't even thought of that. That's exactly right. I mean, you can serve your community, and in those ways, that's where we need people, too.
Yeah, if it's really about service and not some other reason, then it shouldn't be a problem.
Yep.
That's a great point.
Okay, let me ask you another one I've heard. This is just going to help Democrats.
I don't think that's, being a Republican chairman, I personally wouldn't be supporting it if I felt that way. So I don't think that's a good argument. I think it's kind of a cop-out in a way. It kind of says that we don't have much confidence in ourselves as a party, that we can't find good candidates. And you and I talked about this last time I was on, but there's been a lot of interest and activity, these reorganization meetings at the Republican Party level for the last few months. There are thousands of new people that are engaged. So I think that there's a huge bench out there and a perfect ability to find candidates all over the state. I'm not worried about that.
What do you say about people who argue that there's going to be a lot more out-of-state money involved?
Well, out-of-state money is a legitimate issue. I think it's something, and Rick, you and I have talked about this, I think it's something that we can look at. For our organization, what we decided to do is we decided to go to those that we believe have the most expertise to help us. And there is a group called U.S. Term Limits, which is a 501c4. They are solely focused on this issue of term limits, both at state level and federal. That has been what they've been doing for about 35 years. So we went to them and sought their assistance, financial, their guidance, and otherwise. But all the decisions are being made by North Dakotans. I mean, this is a North Dakota initiative, but I mean, the issue of money in politics is a separate but perfectly valid issue.
Yeah, I think that just the term out-of-state money, it can immediately set people to feeling one way or the other. But I think you can have out-of-state money that is used to completely influence and change the perception of the North Dakota voter. Sure. To get something passed that's a pet project. Term limits is something that's all across the nation. We have strong interest. if you have an organization that says, hey, we'd like to pass this, naturally you're going to go to people that have the expertise.
Right.
And if they happen to be out of state, they're out of state.
It's just like when you worked on your constitutional carry bill for the Second Amendment.
Yep.
You spoke with the NRA, not because you want to kowtow to an out-of-state interest, but because the NRA is the foremost authority on defending gun rights in the United States.
Yep, that's a good point. Very good point. Montana. Now, I don't know a lot about Montana's law. South Dakota also has term limits for legislators. Montana does as well. I've heard a couple of people say, oh, Montana is just a mess and we don't want to be like Montana. Now, they didn't expound beyond that. I don't know what they meant. I should have maybe asked, are you aware of concerns with our neighboring states, South Dakota and Montana, that you would see those same concerns applicable to your measure?
Not any concerns that outweigh the benefits. And the other thing I would say is that I would imagine the people you've heard that from are probably people in political circles, probably legislators, I would assume. So, of course, again, it goes back to the political class is not going to support this. Of course they're not. And I have many friends, some of whom probably aren't very happy with right now because I'm supporting this, and that's fine. I accepted that when I sign on to it. If I believe something's right, I'm going to do it regardless of that. But yes, people in the political class will find every reason to find every little nuance that could be wrong with this, that this isn't going to work because of this or because of that. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to its term limits. If we have problems with bureaucracy, well, why do we keep giving a blank check to the governor? I mean, if we have problems with the growth of government and the bureaucracy having too much power, that still comes down to the people that are in there. Whether you're in there for 1 term or 6 terms, the issue is still the same. We have to elect good people that will stand up to that.
Mm-hmm. It seems like limiting the term limits to not such a very short period of time, it was very prudent on your part too when you did that. You didn't say, okay, you're only 2 terms and then you can't go into the Senate. You're doubling that. Sure. So when you did your research, did you find that there are even longer periods of time that some states did, or?
Yeah, there's some variation. I don't have all of it in front of me right now, but there is some variation to how some states do it. And some of them have rules about whether it's consecutive or not.
Sure.
That's especially true on the governor, actually. Like in the case of Virginia, state of Virginia has the strictest term limits in the country for governor. You can only have 1 consecutive term.
Wow.
So it does depend on the state.
Interesting. Very, very good.
Well, and when are we going to see people getting signatures?
Well, right now it's pending approval at the Secretary of State's office, which is probably maybe within the week here. We're hoping to find out. It'll get approved for circulation, and then we have to get 36,000 signatures, and hopefully it'll be on the ballot likely in June of 2022.
Gotcha. All right.
Thank you so much for the update and the information.
There you have it, folks.
Thanks for having me on.
Term limits measure coming up June of 22.
Okay, we're going to do something really cool and different.
Yes.
We're going to do an on location, and you'll be able to see us on location in our clip next. Stay with us.
When you're buying windows, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Hi, I'm Jesse with the Window Source. We only sell you the best windows and doors for the best price. Call the Window Source. Just because you pay less doesn't mean you get less.
Calling all farmers. Join us Friday, July 16th for Farmers Night at the Bismarck Bucks. The Bucks take on the Frisco Fighters with a 6:05 p.m. kickoff, and we'll highlight our friends at Farm Rescue as we help raise money to support our farmers around the region. For more information on tickets, please visit bismarckbucks.com. Get your free general admission tickets today.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature Heroes, with the region's only Hero meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Welcome back. No apologies. Okay, we have something new for you. We started a dealio called On Location. And we are going to be going out to bars, restaurants, and other locales and just engaging people that are there to just come and talk to us, ask us questions, give their opinion, argue with us, whatever it might be. So we had a good time.
It was really fun.
It was a very hot day.
Beautiful, beautiful evening, though.
Yes, it was. We had a few folks, young folks, come and talk to us. So, and this was at Lüft, which is downtown Bismarck. It's my bar. But so we got the ball rolling, and we've got more businesses in the pipeline, and we're going to be continuing to bring this to you. But tonight and the next 2 nights, you're going to see some young folks talking to us at Lüft about some really interesting topics. Should we just play the...
Let's just roll it.
Yeah, let's roll it.
Folks, we are at Lüft Rooftop Beer Garden in Bismarck, and we've got Ben and Jenna. They've braved the aspect of being on television to come and talk with us. I saw you tip back a little apple pie, so I don't know, hopefully I gave you some
liquid
good...
courage.
Liquid courage. Not enough. All right. Okay, Ben, Jenna, go ahead. I think you said you had a question for us.
Yeah, what was your first job just as a kid, high school? What got you to the positions you are now?
That's a
Good
great question. I want to hear.
Okay,
You want to go
I'll
first, or do you want me?
I'll go
Mine
first.
is really boring.
So I was a freshman in high school, and Fiesta Villa, which used to be there, but many, many years ago it was in Mandan, and it was only a block away from my house. And so I went there in 9th grade, got a job as a dishwasher. And that was back when nobody cared about the child labor laws. But I worked my way up to being a server, and then I actually worked for them when they were open in Bismarck during the summers during college. And so that was dishwasher, first job. I was 14.
So cool. I was probably about 13 and 14, and I lived in southern Minnesota, and they would make us walk beans. Have you ever walked beans? Ever heard of this? Okay, so this is really interesting. So you have some sort of a vehicle in front of you, and you walk the rows of the beans, and you pull the weeds, like the big old milkweeds and stuff like that. You pull the major weeds out. Yeah, it was crazy. And then in another summer, I picked rock, which is kind of the same concept. You go down the rows.
Were you driving?
I was not driving. I was walking.
Come on.
No, legit. And then you had like a flatbed in front of you. No, legit. That was my first job. And then when I was 16, I had a friend who came over, and he's like, "Hey, they're hiring at the radio station. You want to be on the radio?" I'm like, "That'd be great. I'd like that. That'd be fun." So I went with him to the radio station. All older guys, like all old grandpas working there, and I'm like 16-year-old girl, and I walk in there, and so they made me practice reading and ripping and reading things from the Associated Press. I don't know. Back in the olden days, they used to have these like like things? Okay. So we would rip off the news story on this teletype machine, and we would read things. So I practiced reading, and then I was on the radio when I was in high school from my junior and my senior year, and nobody knew I was on the radio because nobody listened to that radio station because it was like twang, pick, strum, country. It was like country, and they're all listening to KCLD in St. Cloud, which is like cool rock, you know. So.
What the hell are they thinking when it comes to the baby boomers and the
old people?
What's after baby boomer?
I don't know.
Come on.
What's after
Gen X?
Gen X.
Gen X. What are these Gen Xers and baby boomers doing? They're screwing things up. Boom. What is it?
The people older than us.
Yeah, I mean, like
the people younger.
Yeah, the people
the
older
stuff
than
that's been going on for, say, the last couple decades, and that seems to maybe be continuing. Are you concerned about the direction of the country and what aspect that's going to affect you? Maybe it's not a thing today, but that you think will affect you as you get into your 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Are you worried about like the debt that everybody's like building up, or does that not even bother you?
Yeah, that bothers me, but I don't know. I think it's more just like the just overall manipulation by the media.
And mine
really bothers me.
Mine plays into that because I'm more concerned about like how we can all be convinced to do something and then we all follow along with it. And without any logic or reasoning behind it, we just agree. So the manipulation of the media.
Yeah. Booyah.
Wow.
Boom.
I feel like we're
I know, we're I know, like a kindred spirit here. Because
no, but I seriously, that is one of the most concerning things to me, because, and I don't want to go into like, you know, big hyperbole here, but you think about, say, World War II, certain nations in Europe, right? And you think to yourself,
how did that happen?
How did they ever let that happen? And yet you see what's going on here, different situation, but you see how people just become zombified and just fall in line, and not only do they fall in line to do what they're told, but they start screaming at people who don't. And we saw with COVID, and it
So
freaks the
wacky.
hell out of me.
Yeah.
I have lost a lot of
faith in humanity.
Well, yeah, that I was going to say, but
That's me.
A lot of the
That's just
sense
me.
of kind of relaxed contentment. I'm like, okay, what the hell is going to happen next? Because it's all going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, I agree. And the same thing with like World War II. It starts like, we just see the bigger picture, like how they all agreed to something really big. But it started really small when they slowly started programming them to believe something. And then we're doing the same thing, like how far they can push us before we slowly start agreeing to whatever they say.
Look at how not only the U.S. economy, but essentially all the world's economies essentially collapsed for a disease that had a mortality rate of 1 or 0.2%. Can you imagine if we actually, and again, I always say this, I shouldn't have to, but I mean, it's so terrible and unfortunate for those people that lost loved ones. It always is, no matter the disease. But when you step out of it, what if we had a disease that came through that actually had a 7, 8, 9, 10% mortality rate?
Or war, right?
I mean, civilization's over.
It is.
It's unbelievable. So what do you think?
They're really smart, these two are. I mean, that was really good stuff between media manipulation and people just going along
I'm
with
starting to have a little more faith.
in humanity. In the younger
future.
generation.
In the future, it's
that's
not
all
totally
true.
lost.
Interesting observation is I've noticed that like we agree with everything, and then when they tell us it's like we all are for something, and then like say it's like good to do until they tell us like we don't have to, like say if you're vaccinated you don't have to wear a mask. Then all of a sudden no one wears a mask.
Am I interrupting?
But just we'll catch 1 second. 1 second. All right.
But it's more of like you do it to, you know, like because it's the thing to do. Like it seems like
peer pressure,
heroic,
right.
whatever it might be.
Yeah,
that bothers me too.
There's a fear. This I think has been increasing throughout the generations. There's a fear to be singled out.
Yeah.
And
isolated.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of silent people that actually believe the right thing, or like what they believe, the logic or reasoning, but are afraid to say anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree with you. Do you agree?
Science.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a nurse guessing you're probably getting lots and lots of science.
Yeah, they tell you a lot, of that.
Do you have to use your reasoning sometimes?
Yeah.
Well, you're still going to have to think for yourself, because tons of the medical community, nursing and physicians, I'm a physician, came out and just fell in line and just kept repeating the stuff that clearly, scientifically, should have at least been questioned.
Well, and the interesting thing is a lot of people say it's science, but it depends what science you're looking at.
Right.
Because we can all find science to fit our agenda.
Right. You can find facts. The problem is, and we covered this on our show several times, if you have facts and then you say, well, you can't dispute or question those, well, that in fact is what science is testing a hypothesis.
Right.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
No, that was
How
good.
much fun was that, seriously?
That was good.
We had such a great time, and excellent guests, too.
Yeah.
So good.
That was good. And we've got more for the rest of the week, so it's going to be fun. Stick with us, folks. We've got another segment. Lori's got an interesting topic.
Your recurring health challenges. It can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Spas, etc. Yeah. You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
All right, congrats, viewers. You just about made it through the show. It's no apologies. Lori has got a topic for us on an interesting trend.
Well, I think that the topic should be titled, What is Going On with Television Viewing? Over the past week and a half, I've noticed 3 separate articles on 3 totally, seemingly unrelated issues, and they all have a common thread to them. So I thought it was interesting. First of all, everybody knows that CNN has been getting pilloried and bashed by Trump. When Trump was in office, he was always on CNN. And then people, of course, would start the chant, you know, CNN sucks, right? Okay, everybody knows that. So that was part of CNN's slow decline, I will say, while he was in office. However, let's show this graphic from an article. This is from the Washington Times, and it says, CNN death spiral. Show the graphic, please, guys. So this is the deal. CNN is cratering is the word I want. Chef says he'll repeat, okay. It's an article that says basically that they are cratering. What's the word cratering mean, right? Their ratings have been cratering early in this post-Trump era, and they say it's no fluke. The vehemently anti-Trump network has seen, get this, a 45% drop in its prime time audience in the last 5 weeks.
Wow. That's
The last five. Now, I would expect over those years. This is from the Washington Post. The Washington Post said that originally. So in the article, it says, the Washington Post newspaper concluded after analysis of Nielsen Media Research data that MSNBC's audience has dropped 26% in the same period. So it's not just CNN. And then at the same time, Fox News has kind of been stable. They essentially, the most Trump-friendly of the three networks in its primetime opinion shows, has essentially regained its leading position by just standing still. So its ratings have just fallen 6%. Since the first weeks of the year. So the cable networks declined to discuss their ratings outlook, of course. Then, meanwhile, article number 2 pops up. Let's show this one. This is a Breitbart article, and it says, late night talk shows suffer major ratings losses without Trump. Within this one, I don't know about you, but I do know about you. You and I are the same age. Did you not love watching Johnny Carson?
Oh, yeah.
We totally watched Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon, Doc Severinsen, by the way, who turns 94 years old tomorrow. Fun fact. And this is a June 25th Breitbart article, and it begins, the far left late-night talk shows are suffering some serious ratings losses, which probably has more than a little to do with President Trump leaving office. So it says, as you read through the numbers below, keep this number in mind, 6.3 million. Now, during 1986 to 87, during that television season, nearly 100 million fewer people in the country. That was the number of viewers that Johnny Carson averaged throughout the entire 86-87 TV season. 6.3 million. Season-to-date average audience size now. Late Show with Stephen Colbert, 2.9 million. Tonight Show's Jimmy Fallon, 1.5 million viewers. Jimmy Kimmel, 1.8 million. Altogether, in a country with 330 million people, as opposed to 240 million in 86, those three left-wing losers can't pull in as many average nightly viewers as Johnny Carson did by himself in 1986, and their numbers are falling. That's the big thing right there. Their numbers are falling. CNN, kind of understandable, but late-night TV, why is late-night TV going down so drastically, and why do you suspect that they're suffering at the same time as CNN is? That seems a little weird, too. In comes number 3. So this is the third one that I saw, and this one is a Federalist article. And people are watching, you know, TV, and they're now walking away from Bachelor, too. Bachelor viewership tanked by more than 1 million because of politics. And politics is poison. Let's take a little pull quote from this. It says, it may seem odd to criticize a show that still boasts millions of watchers, but a hemorrhage of 1/4 of a show's audience, yeah, that's significant, especially when nothing substantively changed in the franchise except the injection of woke politics and subsequent ouster of a beloved host. So there you go. Let me read that again. Except the injection of woke politics and subsequent ouster of a beloved host. So that's why they are tanking big time. And you mean people are not flocking to that because of the woke politics? Isn't that what we are being told? That people are all on board with the woke politics thing. So The Bachelor was a guilty pleasure of mine at one point. It's horrible. It is scripted and fans love it that way. But what they don't love is woke leftists changing and injecting politics into their programming when they are having an escape. Which it was. It was a guilty pleasure. I enjoyed why it was escapism. However, then Chris Harrison got embroiled in a little woke thing. The deal was he pushed back on some cancel culture. They went after him following the emergence of some photos of a contestant named Rachel Kirkconnell at an antebellum-themed party that she was at when she was in college. And so he said, you know what, quit trying to cancel her, tried to defend her essentially, and they canceled him and took him off the show. And so now people are like, okay.
Good. Well, they should go.
Right?
And the thing is, you brought up some of the past shows. Saturday Night Live.
Right?
Loved it.
Same.
But before they just kept slapping us in the face with their leftist, progressive, woke politics.
Bingo.
David Letterman.
Bingo.
Loved him. He's very but I mean, he only veered off later after a show, right? But I mean, even though he was liberal, he's funny, interesting to watch, because at the time when he had his late night with David Letterman, he wasn't forcing that kind of stuff onto us. So it's not like we can't stand to watch people of a different opinion. We just don't want to keep getting that shoved down our throats.
Bingo.
So when you do that, when Bachelor starts doing that, it loses viewers.
And all of them, all at the same time. So where are people going?
Is that the
No, it isn't. I just made
the summation of the whole article?
The thing is that I get offended very easily as a viewer if somebody's trying to shove an agenda at me, and it's pervasive everywhere. I'm going to have to quit Hallmark Channel. I'm going to have to quit it because they're starting to sneak garbage in there now, and I just don't like it, and I will not watch it, and I will leave very easily. I left baseball, I left football. You know what? I'm just going to have to watch No Apologies all the time, I guess, because there's everything else is constantly pushing this agenda, and that's, they said CNN was probably a problem for people who knew about the Cuomo stuff and about the fact that, he had been sexually harassing people and that he put elderly in nursing homes and killed them with COVID. So
watch No Apologies, work your garden, and invite friends over for a beer. That's all you need to do.
Perfect.
All right.
All right. Tomorrow we're going to have an awesome guest. The Concerned Women for America president and CEO will be zooming in. We will have that tomorrow. Join us next time.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.